Welcome to the Stronger, Leaner, Lighter show for this week. I'm your host, Sally Thibault. Today we're talking tapping. Is this the secret sauce to long-term weight loss? Interesting show. Can't wait to get into this one. Hello and welcome to this week's Stronger, Leaner, Lighter show. We are at the last week of April. Can you believe it? I hope you've coped well with all these short weeks. And it can be really, kind of impacts on your sticking to your habits, sticking to your goals. So this week, what I wanted to share is a question I get asked a lot, and that's about tapping and how it relates to weight loss. Now, in the Stronger, Leaner, Lighter program, tapping actually forms a major part of it. So today, for some people that perhaps you've not heard of it before, or you've tried it and it hasn't worked, I'm going to look at all the reasons why that is happening and how you can implement it to truly make this incredible modality very powerful. But, for many people use it incorrectly, and so it doesn't work. So that's what we're going to go through today. A big shout out to our sponsors, Naz Cosmetics, of course, always responsible for making me look, great on camera. Thank you, Jen from Naz Cosmetics, and you'll find her nascosmetics.com.au. And product of the week this week, can't see it very well in front of the green screen, but this is a green smoothie, green shake, TR90 green shake, my favorite protein powder. For many women when we're struggling to lose weight, and especially as we age, getting enough protein can be a real issue. This one grabs you 15 grams of protein and then also filled full of chlorella, spirulina, beet juice powder to really pack in those greens when perhaps you may not be eating as much as what you really need. So reach out to me if you want to know a little bit more about that fantastic protein powder. Rightio. Now, look, today, if you've got questions, please let me know. Just pop them in the comment box and I will answer them as we go through. If you've tried tapping, if you've never heard of tapping, if you don't know what it is, that's what we're going to talk about in this show, and how it relates to weight loss. So what is tapping? So tapping is an energy psychology technique. It's a blend of cognitive behavioral therapy and acupressure or acupuncture. And numerous amounts of research being done on tapping, and it really does help to reduce stress, overwhelm, anxiety, and release the emotional connection to stories we tell ourselves, the people, the words, and the events of our past that cause us to doubt ourselves, that cause us to create self-doubt, that cause us to not believe in ourselves and make different types of choices. Now, the wonderful thing about tapping is that you can do it yourself. That's what I love about tapping more than anything. Once you learn how to do it properly, it's simply by tapping on the meridian points around the body and the top of the body and the face, and telling the truth of how you feel. When you tap, the cortisol, stress hormone, goes down. Numerous research studies around that, and I'll share a little bit more about one of the studies in a little bit. But it is really one of the things I love about it most of all, and I've been using this since 2014, is, as I said, you can go something straight away. If you're feeling stressed about something, if you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, or you've got a negative thought that comes out, you just simply need to tap by telling the truth of how you feel on these various meridian points around the face and the body, and your stress level will lower. And what happens then? You make different choices. Because when you're stressed, overwhelmed, and anxious, you make different choices. I'll share a little bit more about that. So how does it work when it comes to weight loss? I think this is exceptionally important. As I said, I've been doing this for a very long time. I began in the fitness industry in 1980, went through the whole low-fat, intensive exercise, jumping up and down thing, like leotards, leg warmers, belt, headband, you name it, I wore it. And so I've seen the cycles of things go through. And can I tell you, it's not about food. It's not about food. Weight loss is not about food. And weight loss is not about exercise. There's no magical way to eat. There's no magical way to exercise. The true key behind this, when it comes to weight loss, is that weight is the product of an emotion not dealt with, not the cause of it. So we don't, if you are struggling with your weight, the easiest, believe it or not, the easiest thing to do is to find out what's causing you to make the choices you do. If you are the type of person that has followed restrictive diets in the past or intensive exercises, we all did in the 80s, and of course now we can't do that anymore. We don't want to do that anymore. You know that didn't work. Because if it did, we'd all be thin and healthy. It didn't work. And every decade, there's a brand new whiz-bang, whoop-de-doo way of eating or exercising. And that's not the answer. Because if it was the answer, we'd all be thin. The fact is that when the emphasis is focused on food and exercise, which so many diets and diet companies tell you, all it's doing for you is getting you caught in a cycle of failure. Because you're an intelligent woman. You've been on the planet for a long time. You know yourself that you are disciplined enough to restrict food because you've done it over the years. You've done the diets. You know, hands up, let me know with a heart or a like. Remember the Israeli army diet? The egg and grapefruit diet? Pritikin diet? What else was there? Atkins diet? Living on nothing but protein, low carbohydrate diet. And then in recent times, we've had paleo. Whatever happened to paleo? It kind of disappeared. That's exactly what happens every decade. Then we have the food pyramid, which was wrong. Dead wrong. That food pyramid that I taught in the 1980s was wrong. In fact, we needed to invert it because we need more fats. We need more protein. We need lots of leafy greens. We need carbohydrates. But to tell us that you had to eat less fat, that was just wrong. And so every decade, and then, you know, as I said, what happened to paleo? This kind of disappeared. And that'll happen with keto and everything else that comes along. I've been in the industry for 40 years, a little gap in the middle, of course. But what will they teach about food depends on who's running the tests, who's paying for that. And if you look at a lot of those diets and research studies, you'll see that people are being paid by certain people to come up with those solutions. So if we continue to focus on the fact that it's about food and exercise, you just get trapped in this failure treadmill. So it's just not going to work. Because it's in understanding why we make the choices that we do that's imperative. You have access to gazillion bits of information. Just type in "how do I lose weight" in Google and just see, I think it's like, last time I counted, like 184 million searches will come up for you. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got an idea. Everybody's got a thought. But it's what's right for you. You know that if I eat more leafy green vegetables, if I drink more water, if I practice intermittent fasting, if I exercise, I'm going to release the weight. You know that. So what's the reason that you don't do it? That is more important. That should be the key to long-term weight loss. When you understand the reason why you do things, that's the key. And we do things because of the people, words, events of our past that caused us to feel that we weren't valuable, or that we weren't good enough, or there was something wrong with us. And so we choose food as a way of numbing, for many of us, and alcohol and cigarettes and all those things. They're a way of numbing. Food's exactly the same. Do you know, years ago when I was teaching fitness and health, and people would say to me, the trouble with food is it's readily available. If you're picking the kids up from school and you're feeling really stressed and overwhelmed, you can sit in your car with the kids before you pick the kids up and eat a whole packet of Tim Tams or a packet of chips because you're feeling overwhelmed. You sat in your car and drank a bottle of wine, people will be talking about you. But it's the same thing, right? Both of them numb a feeling. Now, in particular, when we come to stress and the food we eat, two of them are the part of the recipe for the 4 S's of releasing visceral fat. One is less stress, because when you're stressed, the body produces cortisol and adrenaline. You've heard me talk about this before. Cortisol and adrenaline pump through the system to give you the energy to do something. Run, fight, freeze, and faint's the other one. Okay, so give you the energy to do something. When we're living in this constant low-grade stress and anxiety all the time, it's like your cortisol is pumping through the system, adrenaline is pumping through the system, and you're not doing anything. Plus, in order to alleviate that stress, your brain causes us to reach for foods that create a serotonin boost, and it's carbohydrate-rich foods that increase the brain concentrations of an amino acid called tryptophan, which is the common building block for serotonin. And serotonin is a neurotransmitter that helps us feel calm, happy, and at peace. So when you're stressed, your brain, you're already stressed, the cortisol levels are high, the adrenaline levels are high, and because of the amount of cortisol in the body and the adrenaline, the blood leaves the blood flow leaves the brain. More blood is pumped into the arms and legs in order for you to do something. When you don't do something physically active, as your cortisol level drops, the body holds on to fat because you might need it again. It's a brilliant concept, really. It's our body consistently looking after us. So you're still stressed. Cortisol levels are dropping a little bit, not all the time. Laying down as visceral fat because it's the energy you might need later on. Plus, in order to feel better, you're going to be reaching for the foods high sugar. What did I say before? The S's. So the high sugar and foods that contain seed oils, processed foods, because they're quick. So things like chips, crackers, anything that's processed that's containing seed oils. And of course, with the seed oils, industrial seed oils, they're highly processed. If you actually Google how do they create seed oils, you would never, ever, trust me, eat it again. You would never, ever eat anything with seed oils in it if you understood how the process worked in order to process this food. So when you're stressed, because that's the thing that gets the serotonin, because that's what your brain is doing, right? Your brain is looking after you. So it's like when we all began, when COVID first happened and we were locked down and everybody went home to bake cakes and bake bread, because it was the serotonin foods we were looking for. So how does tapping work for that? Well, tapping balances the activity between the sympathetic and parasympathetic regions of the brain, producing a neutral emotional state, the gold standards of health and wellness. In other words, when you tap and saying the truth of how you feel, your cortisol levels drop, and we're looking in tapping for a zero emotional charge. So for instance, something happens that triggers you, because your stress response is always a story. The people, the words, and the events of your past that caused a story. Somebody does something to you and you're triggered. Okay, so you go, oh, how dare they? And I often tell the story about Jerry and the full stops. I don't know if you remember that, but I've been working on a landing page all day long, and he walked in the door at 5 o'clock, and I said, oh, look at this wonderful page I've done. I'm going to go and pour 2 glasses of wine, and I'm going to come back, and can you please check over it? Just check it. I actually wanted him just to say how wonderful it was. And when I came back into the office, put the 2 glasses of wine down, and I said, what do you think? And he said, you're not very good at full stops, are you? And I went, responded straight away. I was so mad. Walked over, grabbed my wine. I stormed out and sat down. Okay, Miss Life Coach, Miss EFT practitioner, what's the trigger? And it was being told off as a child. It wasn't good enough. And when I was in grade year 4 or 5, I was a great writer. And the nuns used to pick me up, a great creative writer. And the nuns used to pick me up all the time, my punctuation. Because I always felt like I wasn't good enough. That's what he triggered. That's for all of us. When somebody says something to us and we respond, it is because we're triggered. When you move to a 0 state, you go, oh, well, doesn't bother me. Really? And you just laugh. Because then your stress levels aren't going up and down. So when you're triggered by something, using tapping to lower that stress response, to balance the activity between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, you make different choices. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, that's what this is all about. You know all the right and wrong foods. I don't want to say wrong, but you know the foods you need to eat in order to fuel your body. So the question is, why don't you do it? That's the question. It's not restrictive eating, because that's the worst thing you can do when you're stressed. Worst thing you can do. You don't place the body under more stress. But when you are when you have a 0 charge, the cortisol levels aren't rising. You can think more clearly. And as I mentioned to a client yesterday, we were talking about this yesterday, and she was saying, what I find is that I'll reach for the food first, eat it, and then think, oh, what was the trigger? See, that's the other thing about it, is that your emotional brain operates 200 times faster than your rational, reasonable part of the brain. So if you're stressed, you'll reach for the food because, remember, the brain's trying to calm you down without even thinking about it. And then, you said you're going to eat well this week, and all of a sudden you look down and there's an empty chocolate wrapper sitting on your desk, and you think, how the hell did that happen? So that's what tapping does, and why it must be a part of a weight loss program. Must be. If this is not being addressed in any weight loss wellness program that you're implementing, then you're always going to be stuck in the treadmill. It's so much easier than restricting food when you understand why the choices that you make. All right, let's quickly move on because we're running out of time. So why does it work for some people and not for others? Number one, you have to be specific and use it regularly. You know what? One of the things that I find when I'm working with clients is that they're too broad and they don't really know sometimes what the real feeling is, or they're afraid to go to the issue. Oh, but what if I get more stressed, or what if I get more anxious? Well, you don't. So when you tell the truth of how you feel, plus you're tapping, signals the brain to let that go. The amygdala lets the cortisol, instead of trying to run, that's what the problem with affirmations is, that people think if they're saying them all the time and nothing's happening, there's something wrong with them. Well, it's saying affirmations while you haven't cleared the emotional response and the long-term story and memory you're telling yourself. It's like taking, instead of taking the garbage out, just spraying the air freshener on it. You get underneath it, tell the truth of how you feel, tap on it, release the emotional response to it. You're not going to forget it, just not going to be triggered by it. And it's used to be regularly. In fact, that's probably the biggest challenge for many people that I work with, is that, and the reason why I'm about to tell you about the program that we're launching on Monday. You need to do it all the time. I've been doing this since 2014. I still tap every single day. Every day. And we just had a huge big month, kids coming, going to Melbourne, my dad's 90th, and then we're moving. Everything was really out of kilter, and tapping was the thing that grounded me, kept me going, kept me focused, because I wasn't having my protein smoothies every day. I wasn't getting up and exercising. We were having late nights. We were drinking a lot, good food, great alcohol. My daughter's partner is a head of the restaurant and liquor association in Vancouver. And so he's very into wine and food, and we just ate so well. But it upsets the apple cart. So tapping was the thing that kept me focused. So I'm going to tell you in a minute about the Stronger, Leaner, Lighter program. And as I mentioned, if you are undertaking any weight loss program and you are not focusing on the reasons why you make the decisions you're doing, you're going to get caught in that treadmill. But I'm going to share with you about it in a minute. I want to just touch on this one more thing. It's not about you. It's not just about you. This is not just about you. And this is really interesting. I like some research I found today. And I'll share with you why this is so interesting. A Harvard study found that up to 2/3 of underweight 12-year-olds considered themselves to be too fat. By 13, at least 50% of these girls are unhappy by their appearance. By 14, focus-specific dissatisfactions have intensified, particularly concerning their hips and their thighs, right? They stop being built like a boy and start to flesh out like a girl, get the hips and thighs, because that's what happens when they're going through puberty. By 17, this shocked me because I thought this was different now. Only 3 out of 10 girls had not been on a diet by the time they were 17. So much for body confidence and acceptance. Up to 8 out of 10 will be unhappy with what they see in the mirror. Why is this important? And why this is important for you to clear any stuff you've got about your body? Because your children, your daughters in particular, do not listen to a word you say, but they watch what you do. They watch what you do. So if you're carrying a deep harbor, a deep dislike about your body, about your thighs, about your waist, you cannot be saying a word about it, but they will get it. And if anything, that's where tapping is so powerful in this process. Because one of the things we have to do is get rid of our own beliefs about our body, get rid of our own way that we deal with our stress to ensure that they see us, and they're not listening to you, they're watching you. They see us managing their stress and managing our bodies, managing the beliefs around our bodies properly, the way you want them to be. And social media is really hard on these kids. If you've got teenagers and even girls into their mid-20s, can I tell you, when you clear it for you, it's a whole different game for these kids. And that's why, to me, that's how tapping helps. All right, I want to share a little bit about the Stronger, Leaner, Lighter program we're starting on Monday. I'm going to see if I can do this. Okay, we start Monday. So what's involved? This is a membership program. Oh, what happened to it? This is a membership program. And $79 a month. There's no lock-in contracts, no outstanding fees. In the process, we work on the 10 principles of wellness. You get a new weekly workout video every week. Now, this is where, it's okay to do tapping, which is great, but you have to combine it with something else. You can't just tap. Which I think there's a few people out there who sort of promote this. You've still got to do something. So weekly workout videos are designed for women, especially in the 50 or going through perimenopause or menopause. They're only 9 minutes or 12 minutes long. New weekly tapping videos you get every week. Weekly meditation videos. This is all designed around helping you stay focused and calm. We focus on intermittent fasting, conscious eating, plus bonus ebooks and PDF downloads, and lots around belly fat and visceral fat research. That's all in the $79 one. Aspect of the program. But if you want a little bit more, for our VIP members, you get a one-on-one monthly private coaching session with me. As well as all that, you get 24-hour access 7 days a week to our private Facebook group. So all those bonuses, Plus, if you want more, if you want to have a monthly tapping session with me, which that came about because the gals on the last few programs have said to me that has been the most powerful thing. When I'm stuck on something, to know that I've got you coming up with the tapping just puts me straight back on track again. So that all starts on Monday, and I'm just going to put a link up here for you. I'll just get this off. thestrongerleanerlighter.com will have all the information. We start Monday. As I said, it is ongoing. I am adding to this all the time. So you've already got a bank of videos in there of conscious eating, the 10 principles of wellness, exercise, a new exercise video a week, a bank of tapping videos, plus access to the 6-part How to Master EFT for Personal Use, which includes tapping on food cravings. So that starts Monday. Click on the link or send me a message and I can share you more details. But if you really want to feel stronger, leaner and lighter, using EFT and meditation together with those short videos on exercise that help you build the strength, that helps with the visceral fat, plus learning to eat consciously, which includes the 5 aspects, which is how to set your goals, how to create good intentions, how to eat intuitively, how to implement the process, including one aspect of that, which is forget portion sizes. If anyone tells you you've got to worry about portion sizes, I get, no, you don't. I'll show you an easy way to do that. And this 24-hour, 7-day-a-week support, strongerleanerlighter.com. And you can find out more about it there or send me a quick video. I hope today, a quick message, and I can talk to me, have a little chat on the phone if you just want to see if this is right for you. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. This is all about feeling stronger, leaner, and lighter. And as I mentioned before, one of the greatest things you can do is understand the reason why you make the choices, because you'll never, ever, 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 ever have to diet again. It really is how you sustain long-term weight loss. Simply understand what your emotional triggers are and why you make the choices you do. Find out more at the www.strongerleanerlighter.com.au, and I shall see you next week on the Stronger Leaner Lighter Show. Thanks for being with me.